Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to a new episode on how to analyze any chart from scratch without using any indicators, just by applying basic price action concepts and market structure 101. So let's get started, and as usual, cheers. If you aren't familiar with the series, I'll make sure to attach the playlist, which includes all the 9 examples in the description below. So enjoy it before watching this video. And this example number 10 will go over US 500 as many traders requested it, and which is an index S&P 500. I don't know what to do next. Maybe next week we'll do example 11. So feel free to request any instrument or recommend any idea in the comment section below of this video, of course. So let's get started. One more time, as an exception, another cheers. I find this one quite interesting because it's making new all-time highs like every couple of weeks. So we are in a very strong bullish trend, which is a good practical example because previously, most of the pairs were trading inside a big range, of course, like this, for example, where we've got many typical support and resistance, and we were looking for buy and sell setups around the upper and lower bounds, right? But in this case, we don't have typical support and resistance because we don't have many failed attempts to break above or below a certain area, right? So that's why we go for round numbers, because we don't have typical support and resistance. Round numbers are still good, but not as strong as a typical support and resistance that has been holding back in history, right? And I'll skip the weekly time frame for this video because for this example, because we don't have enough data, and we'll stick to the daily time frame because anyway we can see all the data from the daily time frame, and from the weekly time frame we can't really add any clues. The only clue that we can add here is that we are only looking for buy setups because we are clearly overall bullish, right? At least for now, of course. So on the daily time frame, let's start with this round numbers, and we can see that if you look on the right, this one is trading between like 1.5K and 4.5K. So the strongest round numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5K, of course. So let's do it quickly because it's very straightforward. That's our 2K, that's our 3K. I'll keep them all in green. Our 4K, and last but not least, even though price haven't reached yet, we have the 5K. I don't really see the 1K, which would be around this area, but anyway, for the price to like approach even the 3K, it would take its ages if it ever did, of course. So this is what we know so far, just from daily time frame. These are the strongest round numbers, and as you can see, it's also a zone, so not like a laser level. So here's a big zone, and price rejected like around the 4K. And for example, here's our 3K. We can see many rejections from it previously. Here as well, the price broke it upward. It acted as a support area for a small period of time. Then price broke it down, then upward again, acting as support again, and then price took off from it. And around the 4K as well, we've got a rejection from it as a resistance, then price broke it upward, now acting as a support area and took off from it. So now the next main like resistance or round number in this case is the 5K. And of course, next we've got like the 2.5, 3.5, 4.5K, which are still like good round numbers, but not as strong as the full ones, like the 4K. So the more zeros that you see, the stronger the round number would be. So that's first. Second, we can't really add much from a zoomed out perspective. Let me zoom in a little bit and try to get a feeling about the market from a market structure perspective. We clearly see that we are overall bullish. We don't need any indicators to tell us, right, that we are bullish, not even by comparing the highs and the lows. We can clearly see it. We are clearly overall bullish, and we can notice that the price is breaking the high, retesting almost the previous high, and then taking off from it. And here as well, we have this high, price retested the high, took off. We have this high now that price retested and took off from it. So we can also go for these small swings as minor support and resistance that may add like extra confluence or strength to our trading plan. But let's keep it like clean for now, but we'll combine everything together. After our numbers, we'll go for supply and demand zones. I can't really see any strong ones except this one, which is very, very old. We've got an aggressive movement output from it. Then we've got like very small movements, right? We need an aggressive movement in price and time. We also have this one here, but I will not draw it also because it's very, very far from the price. I'm trying to find any clues around this area because it's from daily time frame and it would take it like many, many months to get to this point, right? So let's keep it clean and let's keep it short. That's how you keep your chart clean. Don't like add any levels, even though it's good, but don't add it. For example, I wouldn't have added the 3K and 2K. But for this example, I'll try to keep it as detailed as possible. So next, let's draw our trend lines. For trend lines, we want what I call the outer trend line, which engulfs the overall movement, because from daily time frame, we want to get an idea about the overall movement, about where we are in the market, right? So they are not like trend lines where we enter on break upward or downward. It's just as a non-horizontal support and resistance to give us an overall bias, right? To know if you are around a support, resistance, and so on, even if it is a non-horizontal one. So we can clearly, I don't know if you see it, but we have this overall movement. If we draw, for example, this one, it would be broken, right? If you draw this one, it will be broken, then price kept moving higher. We want the closest the trend line is, the more relevant it is to price action and the more the price would respect it. So don't draw very trend lines using very old like swings, like this one, for example, from March 2020. Instead, try to find trend lines. So for example, this trend line is more relevant to the current price action than the one I drew starting from here, right? Next, we also have this one, right? Here we go. So let's do this from daily time frame, and we'll draw this one again from H4. So from daily time frame, we can see that this trend line is a very strong trend that the price has been respecting for a while. So we could draw this trend line using these two swings, and here it is acting as a non-horizontal support. And since price is now sitting around it, it's also acting as a non-horizontal support. So we'll be obviously looking for buy setups as long as the price is sitting around this trend line. Of course, it's an entire zone, and don't like treat it as a level like many traders do. So it's like an entire like zone. Okay, so don't, anyway, you've got it all from the previous examples. So let's keep it this way. And as usual, I like to draw it in brown for the trend lines from daily and weekly time frame, so that at the first glance I will know immediately that this one is from a higher time frame. It's a rejection trend line and not a trigger trend line. Next, we always try to make an offset for it. So you click and press on Control, and you click on it, of course, and click on press on Control, and you can drag and drop it. It will immediately create a copy from this trend line. No matter if you are doing this trick on a support and resistance, right? Here we go, or simply an object like I don't know, like an X. Let's do an X. Here we go, and Control, and this is it, right? You can copy and paste. And sorry about that, I clicked on this one, so you had to click on the middle, right? So you can do many times. So let's Control Z, Control Z, undo, or you can go for this one, and so this one for the redo and this one for the undo. Anyway, this is not a video about how to use TradingView. I've made one on how to use TradingView, and you can find it in the channel. So let's, and I have a habit that I always click on post on sorry, not post, on save, because usually, here we go, it's auto save every 10 minutes, but I have this habit that I always click on this save whenever I do anything like important. Anyway, if you don't do it, don't worry, it will be saved automatically in every 10 minutes. So let's make this one cleaner and let it cover the entire structure, which would be like this. This is our first support and resistance, a non-horizontal one, of course. Second, which we can draw, as I mentioned previously, which is this trend line, right? And it's more visible from H4. So I'll keep it this way, and I'll make it appear on H4. Yes, it's good. And on M30 as well. Let's make this one also appear on M30. It's okay if you spend your time to do an analysis, because you will do it only once. So make it clean, and when you save it, and no matter when you will open it again, you will see your levels and charts. So don't worry if it takes you like 20 minutes to or even 30 minutes at the start to do a full analysis for a new instrument, but you will do it only once. So you will not update the daily and week time frames except like once every year. And anyway, it depends on the movements. And here we go, right? So we've got this brown one from a long-term perspective, and this one, which is in blue from a short-term perspective. And you can see it clearer from H4 time frame. We can make it a little bit lower as long as it's not broken, and it's not broken anyway from daily time frame. So we are good to go. So this is what or how you already know just from daily, right, where you currently stand in the market. So the price is currently trading inside this giant brown channel and now inside this blue channel. So the upper one is acting as an horizontal resistance and the lower one is acting as what? Horizontal support. So, and now we've got like an area of confluence or intersection between these two, the brown and the red. So it's approaching like you get a feeling about it that as price goes up this much, it can go down this much, go up this much, it can go down this much, right? So up, down, up, down, up, down. So now we're expecting what? Obviously an up, unless of course the sellers took over in this case and we have a shift in momentum in this case, which I highlighted previously, that you saw high broken upward. Now it became a potential short-term support. High broken came a potential support. And now also let me draw it, and I'll do it in green. And here we go. We've got our, oops, I can't find it. Here we go. We've got our high now broken, acting as a potential support. So now price is retesting this area again. Let's make it a little bit lower. This is our high, right? Here we go. Here's our high. This is our potential support. Now I will keep it and I will make it in green. So now this area is making this area even stronger. So let's make it like this, and let's make it appear on lower time frames. And this is it. Perfect, perfect. So now we are looking for buy setups. Why? Because we have the brown trend line, the blue trend line, and this green area. So for now on US 500 or S&P 500, I'm only looking for buy setups because we are clearly overall bullish from a long-term perspective. We are bullish from this brown channel and from a medium-term perspective, and we are currently sitting around this minor support and resistance, right? So this is a very strong area. Of course, it's not a laser level, it's an area. And anyway, as I mentioned, this one can be drawn like this, and this one can be drawn like this. So it's an entire zone where we're looking for buy setups. And the good thing is we are not going to buy blindly. That's the good thing about our trading style. So we don't really care about if the zone is big or not, because we are not going to buy immediately after a support and resistance. Just like I mentioned previously, we don't really care because we'll be zooming into lower time frames and find our trigger. We want the buyers to take over in this case before we enter the buy. So even though we know that as price goes up, it goes down, up, down. So now we're expecting an up, but we can't really know when. So the price can go from here, can go a little bit lower before going up, can go even to our green support before going up. That's why don't ever buy blindly, always wait for extra confirmation. Moreover, the price can still break it downward, and then in this case would have a shift in momentum, at least from a medium-term perspective, from bullish to bearish. In this case, the next support would be the very strong ground number, which is the 4K. Anyway, let's take it step by step from daily and weekly, and it's enough. Let's zoom into lower time frames now. I've already went through a lot of details. So we'll be looking for buy setups now around this area. The price can dive in before going up, unless we have a break below this area, right? Which is the last swing of the blue and the brown trend line, and it's also the swing. Then we would have a shift in momentum from bullish to bearish. Then we'll be looking for sell setups on the retest, which is also a zone of the blue, brown, or this green area. Of course, we'll zoom into lower time frames, and we'll be looking for buy starting from like 400 or yes, 4.1 K. Okay. So now let's zoom into lower time frames. It's enough from here. If we go to H4, we'll try to see and find if we have anything that, because we want to enter, we want to look for sales for buy setups, right? And we can clearly from H4, I'll do it from H1 because it's even clearer. We can clearly draw this trend line, right? Which covers the entire correction, because we are currently in a correction phase. So impulse, flat correction, then impulse. Now we are in correction phase. Then we are looking to catch the next impulse movement. And let's make it in red. I like to make my trend lines, my trigger trend lines in red. So here's the first one. And previously we had this 1, 2, 3. Let's make it in orange. And anyway, I will delete it now, but just to give you an example. And here we go, right? And after a break below this zone or this swing, or this entire zone anyway, for extra confirmation, we can enter a sell around this area. But anyway, let's focus on the current price action. We are currently around the support area, so we are looking for buy setups. And we can even draw this trend line, right? And yes, let's keep it in orange this time. Moreover, you can see what? I don't know if you can see it, but we can see a very clean head and shoulders pattern. After a bearish trend, we've got an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And I like to make it like this, even though we have a tool to draw support and resistance, to draw the head and shoulders. And even you can use this one, but I usually like to use this one. So some traders would like to do it like this. So head left, right, and or even the head and shoulders tool. I like to keep it as a circle. This is why this is how I like to do it. So here's our left head and right shoulder. The neckline covers the entire structure, which is around this area. Let's make this one in gray. So to look how many confluences or how many tools, clues, whatever you want to call it, right? We've got to buy. However, we are not buying yet because we know that US 500 can still trade lower. I don't know why it's not appearing. We don't want to see this zone. Oops, we've got many things going on here. Okay, let's see. Okay, yes, it should appear. But yes, 1 for this one. And we don't want to see these ones on daily time frame, right? Anyway, even if it might take some time, but I don't like to see it. So that's how picky I am when it comes to my analysis. That's how usually people tell me that my charts are very clean, because I'm picky, right? It's not something good in life maybe, but when it comes to trading, I'm very picky. So this is it, right? So now we've got this head and shoulders pattern, a orange trend line, a red trend line, and so on. Knowing that, yes, now we can see our green one. Knowing that, let me extend this one. Price can still dive inside this area like this, or even like this, before going upward. In this case, if this happens, right, then this would be our trigger swing. Then here we'll be looking for buy setups. And this way, price would reject the blue one, or price can still dive lower and make a new approach our greens minor support before going upward. In this case, this would be our trigger swing and will be buying on break upward, right? And in this case, we would have like this channel. Okay. So even though we are looking now, we can start to look for buy setups now, because we've got this rejection, but it's an entire zone. As you can see, it's like from like 4.3K, 4.35K to around like 4.4K. Right? So this is an entire support area. So don't buy blindly. So we are not going to buy now anyway, because price can still go lower and lower, as mentioned before. And these are the two possible scenarios: the first one here or the second one here, right? But now it is valid. We're around a support area and horizontal support, of course, in brown. And we've got this trend line and with head and shoulders after a bearish trend. So all the conditions are met, but not the trigger yet. So we are waiting for this to happen, for a momentum candle close above this one to prove to us, for the buyers to prove to us that now the buyers that are taking over again, even though they are in control from a higher time frame, right? From a long-term perspective. But for now, especially after breaking below these lows here, the sellers are in control from a short-term perspective. And you can see it even high, lower, 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 right? So we are still, the bears are still in control. And no matter, don't try to like predict that if you have an short span that the price can go up. And worse than that, I don't know why, but the traders would like to predict the right shoulder. So price would be like around this area, and they see a left shoulder and head. I don't know why you can't even call it left shoulder and head for now, because it's not formed yet. So they try to predict this and they will enter buy immediately here, but it's still not formed yet. So price can still like disrespect it. Not every higher low is a potential head and shoulders pattern. For example, here, we've got a low, a lower low. So it's not like a head and shoulders pattern, right? And many examples. We can see plenty of examples. Anyway, let's focus on our rules and let's click X on bar replay. So now we're waiting for this to happen to enter the buy. Meanwhile, until this happens, we would be overall bearish, and this one can trade lower. In this case, we've got our two scenarios. We already covered that. And when the buy is activated, it can be here or not, or lower. Anyway, the buy here and the stop loss would be below the last low, or in this case below the right shoulder, and we target a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which in this case would be around the upper one, which makes total sense, right? And around the upper bound, we'll be looking for sell setups, just like we did previously around this area. We've got a channel 1, 2, 3, and you already saw it. So that's it for US 500. If you like the content, make sure to like and share it with your friends. And feel free, as mentioned at the start, to request any instrument that you'd like me to cover in example number 11. And I'll see you on the next one.